I don't regret anything that's happened in my life because it made me who I am. And when I think about it, I'm a pretty fucking strong guy.
Hey there, my name is Sean and this is Suicide Noted. On this podcast, I talk with suicide attempt survivors so that we can hear their stories. Every year around the world, millions of people try to take their own lives, and we almost never talk about it. We certainly don't talk about it enough, and when we do talk about it, many of us, including me, are not very good at it. So one of my goals with this podcast is to have more conversations and hopefully better conversations with attempt survivors. Why? Well, a lot of reasons, but the main one is to help more people in more places feel a little less shitty and a little less alone. Now, if you are a suicide attempt survivor and you'd like to talk, please reach out. hello@suicidenoted.com, on Facebook or Twitter @suicidenoted. And I know I say this a lot, but check the show notes. There's all kinds of other things going on if you want to get involved, including our membership. We could use the support and there are some perks. Also, if you have a moment, rate and review the podcast. It really helps people find it. I believe you can only do that on Apple. So if that's where you listen, help us out. And finally, we are talking about suicide on this podcast, as the title suggests, like we do every week. We know it's not a good fit for everybody, so please take that into account before or as you listen. But I do hope you listen because there is so much to learn. Today, I am talking with Bobby. Bobby lives in Florida, and he is a suicide attempt survivor. Hey, Bobby. Love the hair.
I'm a bald guy from New York, too.
Where?
Brooklyn. I'm originally from Brooklyn. I live in Gainesville, Florida. Now.
Okay. Let's jump right in. You've attempted to end your life at some point?
Yes, when I was 19 years old.
One time.
That's the only time I attempted. I've had suicidal ideations for years.
Do you remember the first time when you started thinking about ending your life in any way?
Yeah, I was like 6 years old.
That's young.
Yeah.
Little Bobby's thinking about ending his life, right?
Yeah, because my parents were divorced when I was 2.5, so I didn't have any really good role models. I had some, but not a father.
Got you. I know this is going back at least a few years, but when you're that age and you're thinking about that, what do you think stops you from doing it? And this might apply to you as you get older, too, until you're 19 at least.
I don't know. I don't know how to do anything. I didn't have any clue how to end my life. I just wanted everything to stop.
What'd you do? I mean, I know you didn't end your life or try then, but what did you do?
Yell, scream, throw tantrums. I just get loud. Like my family, from New York.
Yeah.
My mother's family is from Italy, so we're loud. The only way to communicate is to be loud. That's the only way to get heard. Never felt that I fit in with anyone. I get bullied a lot. That's what kind of started it, really.
You got bullied? You're a big dude, right?
I'm now, yeah. Yeah.
Back then you weren't.
I was just a kid,
Yeah.
Couldn't defend myself.
Public school?
Public school. PS 97 for a while. Then I went to Catholic school.
Better?
No, same thing.
You got bullied.
Yeah, it's the same shit.
What did you, when you got older and you were getting bullied, did you start doing other shit?
Yeah, I've been clean and sober now for 26 years.
12-step?
Yes.
So do you recall what happens going into your teen years and then ultimately leading to 19 years old that you try?
So I started drinking when I was 13. The on-off switch, I don't have. It doesn't work for me. Drink a lot. And back then, angel dust was a big thing too. So I did some of that. When I was 15, I took on 8 cops.
On angel dust, you lost that, I'm assuming? You can't beat 8 cops.
No, not at all.
Did they throw you in jail?
Yeah, for a few days.
At 15 years old?
Yeah. I didn't give him my name for the first day because I was afraid my father would find out.
What did you think he was going to do to you?
Beat the shit out of me.
Did he beat the shit out of you?
No, actually, he took me to Miami to party.
Your dad, who you said was physically abusive, when he finds out that you were on angel dust, I don't know if he found out that part and took on 8
No,
cops.
I didn't find that stuff out.
Takes you to Miami to party. Okay. I mean, you got a memoir here, no doubt. People would be interested. Yeah. All right. Drugs, alcohol, fighting, whatever else. Then what happens?
I had a calling and I wanted to become a Catholic priest.
Right. Let me just bracket this moment for a second. You got to write the fucking book. Please write this book. Okay. Just the angel dust, the cops, the dad taking you to Miami and being a priest. I'm totally into it.
Yeah. I mean, growing up, I was an altar boy for years and I went to Catholic camp in the summers. I still got bullied by some kid. I would also do some bullying to kids younger than me. That's what happens. That's what you do.
Yes.
The priests and the brothers there were awesome. They treated me great. I felt solace in religion.
You found that now a lot of kids, or at least some, not a lot, had some really bad experiences. And you know what I mean with the Catholic Church. That didn't apply to you?
Yeah, mine was perfect. I had a great experience with the church.
Good. That's great.
Great experience. You know, I got mentored by priests and people in church. It was really good. And I was part of this youth group in the church, at the church too, which was really beneficial to me.
So you contemplated going into that line of work.
I went to a junior seminary for about a year.
Brooklyn?
No, in Goshen, New York, upstate New York.
That shit happens in upstate. Yeah, New York.
Yeah, so the church group that I was at camp at, they're Salesians. They follow Saint Don Bosco, who was the patron saint of kids, and he started a boys club. That's what it was like, you know, getting mentored, and people actually heard me for the first time, and I felt really comfortable. But I still liked to party.
That got in the way?
Yeah,
Can't do both.
no, I had violent streaks a lot throughout my childhood, and that's why I got kicked out of the junior seminary because I was violent.
Did the priest try to help in that way?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they tried. They tried really hard.
What does it take for that kind of group? They're doing God's work to kick a kid out. What do you got to do to get that done?
They just said it wasn't for me.
Were they right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I like girls too much. Vow of chastity, I couldn't do.
Is that really possible?
Yeah, for some people.
Wow. Okay. It's possible. All right. Take me to 19. What's going on?
I was 17 first. 17 I got into a treatment center because my drinking and drug use was way too much. I was living with my mother in New Jersey at that point, and she just didn't know how to deal with me. I mean, I couldn't deal with me. I just hated who I was. I hated everything about myself. Didn't really fit in any place. So I was working a place, and I got drunk, really drunk one day, and went to work, and I punched my store manager. That's not a good thing if you want to keep a job. I went to the hospital because I overdosed on alcohol. They gave me my walk-in papers, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this. I need help. And I asked for help, and I went to a treatment center.
Do you think that the drinking was kind of a slow suicide?
Absolutely. With me, like, since that on-off switch wasn't there, I'll give you a little war story. I was in school, and I was at home, and I drank a quart of vodka, and I went to school.
Wait, you drank the whole thing?
I drank a whole quart of vodka.
Like I would drink water.
Right. Put a scotch and a quart of vodka.
So you had a very high tolerance.
I blacked out. I woke up in the hospital, getting stitches in my head. I smashed the bottle over my own head and started eating the glass.
What are we going to do with young Bobby?
So that's exactly what I was thinking. So I definitely say it was trying to kill myself that way.
I wonder what it was like for people to see that.
People laughed at me, like, you know, my peers, they thought it was funny.
Yeah.
You know, because, I mean, the people I hung out with had to be worse than me.
Wonder where they are today.
I'm sure I know some of them are dead.
Really?
Yeah.
You just can only do that for so long, right? It just doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. So I fast forward, I moved. I was living at my dad's house in Brooklyn. He was really abusive. He was abusive drunk. Begged my mom to let me back in her house. At that point, she had remarried and moved to New Jersey, and she allowed me to move in with her. And I stopped drinking for about 3 months, but I started again.
Well, I knew that was coming, right? But still, I mean, kudos to white knuckling it or whatever you did.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was, white knuckling.
So it's not sustainable, really.
Absolutely not.
So 3 months is up, you back to drinking, and what happens?
Back to drinking. That's when I hit my first bottom, and when I went to work and punched my boss. I went to a treatment center for a month and a half. Heard there was 12-step programs that came in, and I fell in love. I was like, wow, there's a way to get out of this crap. And I bought it lock, stock, and barrel, and I got involved in the fellowship I was at. I was able to stay clean for almost 2 years.
You were in the boys' club or the group with the men and the priest, and then that didn't work out, but you loved it.
Right.
And then you find this other thing, which is way different, but there is some commonality, like brotherhood and connection.
Yeah, the fellowship.
But this is what we all want, right?
Right. Well, and Buddhists call it Sangha, community.
Same stuff.
Yep.
Can't do it alone. I don't think that's one of my big life challenges is I'm doing too much alone, and it's just hard, man. It's
tough. It's really tough.
Yeah. And that goes beyond just drinking. I mean, that's just life.
Yeah.
So all right, 2 years, cool. And then obviously we know where this is going, right?
And then Bobby was working on my fourth step.
I like that you just went third person, Bobby, not me. Bobby doesn't make it through fourth step.
Bobby didn't make it through the fourth step.
What's first step?
Taking a moral inventory of myself. I got to some stuff that I had assumed was negative at the time about myself, sexuality wise, and I was homophobic. It doesn't mesh.
Wait, let's back up. You're homophobic. Are you gay?
I am not gay.
So what was going on? Tell me. I'm just curious.
I was attracted to some guys.
That you couldn't handle that.
I couldn't handle that because I was a racist homophobe.
Wait, you're throwing race in there too?
Oh yeah, I was. Yeah.
It sounds almost like neo-Nazi type stuff.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, I shaved my head like this. Now I shaved it because I just accept God's will and I'm bald.
So you went through a phase then. Were you actually in a group like that?
When I was still in Brooklyn, I was.
Would you hurt people?
Yeah.
Does the fact that I'm Jewish make you want to kill me?
Not at all.
Would it then?
No. If you had alcohol, it would have been fine.
Oh, wait. Now alcohol would have helped, not hurt.
It would have helped, for sure.
Oh, wow. Okay. This is fascinating, dude.
When I got clean, I realized that, you know what? I'm not really racist. I didn't care about people's race anymore. But the sexuality thing was still bothering me because I'm like, I didn't like gay people. I was afraid of them. And here I am attracted to some guys. That's when I tried to kill myself.
I know that the 12-step program, it sounds like in many ways saved you.
It did.
The fourth step at that time in your life.
At that time in my life, I didn't have a solid foundation of the first 3 steps. I met you're an addict or alcoholic, whatever you want to do. Believe that there's a power greater than yourself that can help you. And 3 is to turn my will and my life over to the care of that higher power.
Does the higher power have a name for you?
It was God.
Fourth step, a doozy. All right, so take me to that day in as much as you want.
I got into an argument with my parents. My mom and stepdad had already been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which was a bogus freaking diagnosis. Because back in '89, they gave all the kids that diagnosis. So I was taking lithium and a drug called imipramine. I ate a month's worth of both of them.
That was the attempt?
Yes. So we're talking like a lot.
With the intent to die?
Yes. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm fucking done.
You drink also that day?
I did not.
Wow.
I wasn't old enough to buy booze. And I was in New Jersey, so they wouldn't sell me booze anyway.
What were you, 19?
Yeah.
It sounded like you'd already lived like a whole life at that point.
Oh, I felt like it too.
And you wake up?
Woke up 3 days later in ICU. It was the 4th of July because I remember I had planned to go to a friend's party in recovery. Then the argument happened and I took all those pills. And for some reason, I might call it divine intervention. I made a phone call to that friend's house. I had blacked out already. I didn't know what was going on. So everything else is from what my friends had told me. But they came and picked me up and saw that I had overdosed and brought me to the hospital. They got me to the front door of the hospital and I was having grand mal seizures. And I woke up on dialysis. It was bad.
You remember taking the pills?
I remember taking the pills. I remember the pain of wanting to end it.
Emotional pain of wanting to not be alive.
Oh, yeah. It was terrible.
This is one of the tricky parts when I have these conversations is they're just in words, right? You literally don't want to be alive. When you woke up, what do you remember? What did you feel like?
I remember thinking, what the fuck? Why am I still here?
Yeah.
And then my friend came into the room with my mom, 2 of my friends. It was in ICU and only family was allowed. So she told the hospital that these 2 guys were my brothers so they could come see me.
Nice.
They said, what the fuck happened? I told them exactly what happened and they didn't judge me.
Ooh, good friends.
They loved me.
And mom?
Unconditional love. To this day, she calls me her miracle baby.
She called you that when you were born or after this incident?
My whole life.
Was your dad around at the time?
He was not in the picture anymore. I wouldn't allow him.
So how long do you stay in the hospital?
I was in there for 3 days. I had spent quite a career, a few years of going to a psych hospital.
Oh, really?
On the 4th floor, in place South Amboy, New Jersey, several times a year.
You were going there by your own? Who was sending you there?
I was going on my own. I couldn't handle life.
So the writing is on the wall.
The writing's on the wall. Something's going to happen. Even clean, I was desperate.
Do you think that's also why one of the reasons why you connected with that Aryan Brotherhood is, again, it's the connection. You don't have anything.
Yeah. So looking back and doing a real 4th step with a good foundation years later, I had mistaken respect and fear because my whole life I just wanted to be respected. And when I got feared, It felt like respect.
It does, yeah.
Yeah,
It's intoxicating, I think.
big time.
And you're still vulnerable to that, I imagine, because you said it in the present tense earlier, I think, which is I am an addict. I think you said something like that.
Yeah, I'm in recovery. I'm an addict. I'll always be an addict.
There's some people that aren't aligned with 12 step, but they would disagree. They say you don't have to always,
Yeah.
but you don't agree with that?
I know that if I pick up a drink right now, I'll end up smoking crack or shooting heroin a few days later. That's probably where my addiction will take me.
So you literally, and I don't think this is exaggeration from what you're saying, if you have one drink, it's like suicide.
Absolutely.
Wow. All right. So you survive, you get out of the hospital. What happens after that?
I decided to go back to the treatment center that I had went through 2 years before that, because it wasn't just a drug treatment center. It was for mental illness as well.
Were you mentally ill?
Absolutely.
What was your mental illness? Does it have a name?
Major depression. Now it's called major depression. Back then they still thought I was bipolar.
Incorrectly.
Incorrect.
That place help?
Yeah, it gave me some time to reflect and work on things and like look at those issues that I had tried to kill myself about.
What changes that you don't want to kill yourself again, or you don't try to kill yourself again?
There were people in my corner. I knew that they were in my corner.
Yeah.
Because people have always been there. I just didn't know it. You know what I mean? There for me emotionally.
You're already about 50 now?
Now I'm about 51.
Before you tell me the whole Florida thing, when did you move to Florida?
The end of 94.
Let me ask you a little bit more about that other stuff, and then I want to hear about Florida, okay?
Sure.
How did you find me?
This is the raw. Last year I went through TMS treatment. I was really, really romancing killing myself. In 2020, my wife and I got divorced. We have a beautiful daughter together. Before that, even like when we were still together and I was quote unquote, here are the quotes, happy, I got suicidal then and I had a plan. I texted my wife, please call home. And she called me right away because later on she told me she knew something was wrong because I said, please call. I signed myself into a hospital then. I had already been clean and sober for a long time.
I was going to ask you, so this whole time you're clean, but this whole time you're still really battling depression.
Absolutely.
How many times did you almost attempt in that whole time between 19 and...
On and off, I would get romancing the idea of killing myself. I would still get depressed, come up with a plan, and just white knuckle it and not do what I planned.
Okay, and at some point, not too long ago, I believe you look online for something related to suicide.
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly what happened. I was looking on Amazon, and I was looking for a way to kill myself. I was going to buy things to kill myself. I was going to either buy some heroin and overdose on it on purpose.
Sure.
Or I take Adderall now, or I was taking Adderall all the time. I was going to take all of that, but I didn't want to feel physical pain.
Sure.
So I would look for ways online, and I found other ways that I could have done it without pain. Somebody said to me, and her husband had committed suicide, and she has a son with the guy to kill himself. And she told me, you have a little girl that needs you. And that was my wake-up call.
How old's your daughter?
She's 11 years old. So she doesn't just need you now, but she's going to need you down the road. I was in 12-step meetings, and I wasn't clicking with with a lot of people, because how could I explain to them that I'm clean sober all these years and I want to kill myself? That's not really a good message of hope to people to try to get sober, because, this guy's got whatever, how many years, and he wants to kill himself. Like this doesn't work.
Maybe that's one way to look at it. Sure.
But then people had told me, like, you know what? Seeing you struggle and getting through it is the real hope.
Fuck yes.
The real deal is that, I was in a marriage and I was clean and sober and I was abusive to my wife. It wasn't physical, but I would get loud. And me being loud is scary.
Probably.
And I was that way with my daughter.
When did you stop that?
When I had separated from my ex, when I moved out, I felt more desperation because my life had been turned upside down. When I asked my ex if she wanted to work on it, she's like, I'm past that. And I didn't fight it. I was like, okay, why should I fight for something that you don't want? If you don't want me, fine, I'm out.
Okay. But still here, Bobby. Well, how'd you find the podcast?
So I was like, I got to stay alive. I can't kill myself. I just can't do it. Because I knew deep inside that it was going to pass. So I looked up online. Years ago, I was told there was high statistics that someone that attempts suicide and survives, a lot of people do it and succeed down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking up for those statistics because I'm a numbers guy. So I'm just doing a Google search. I couldn't find anything, but I was like, okay, let me see. Is there help for people that attempted suicide and lived through it? And then I saw your podcast there.
There's not a lot of help, Bobby. By the way, there's not much out there, but that's just my experience.
That's my experience too, because you're the only podcast that I saw that like people are actually talking about this. And suicide is taboo. It's really taboo. Nobody wants to talk about it.
No,
nobody wants to talk about it because it's scary. It scares people.
Their fear and discomfort is one of the reasons why people are continuing to kill themselves so often.
Yes.
Now, I'm not telling them what to do. I don't do that. I don't tell people what to do. I just want them to know the consequences of what they're doing. That's all.
Right.
You make the decision. Sorry, you're a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're a little uncomfortable. And you wanted to talk. Obviously, that's why you reached out.
Yeah. I want to help.
I'm not a therapist in that way.
Therapy can be great.
Yeah.
It could also not be great.
Right. And I don't need to be a therapist to just be a human.
I think empathy heals all or a lot.
As people from our generation might say, word.
Yeah.
All right, let me go back, all right? Go back to the early 90s when you don't die. Mm-hmm. You're in New York for a few years, and then you make your way south, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I was in New Jersey. So in the 12-step rooms, you find a lot of sick people.
Yeah.
You find a lot of healthy people, too. But you find some sick people. And one person that I fell in love with, and she was a junkie. So I became a junkie.
Oh, you went back?
I went back to using.
What'd you use?
Heroin, crack.
I don't know how people come back from heroin.
Yeah. My heroin and crack use was lasted only 9 months. And I say that because I don't understand how these old school junkies had done it for so many years because I couldn't do it. So I ended up on my sister's doorstep. She lived in Brooklyn, and my dad was in the picture again, and he was moving to Florida because his girlfriend lived down in Miami. So I decided I wanted a fresh start.
Florida, Bobby. I don't know, bro.
There's this saying: no matter where you go, there you are.
Well, and Florida in particular.
Miami. I mean, my stepbrother was a coke dealer.
So you continued using there, or are you selling drugs also at this point?
No, I could have, but I wasn't smart enough to.
Because that's the type of question some people might be dishonest about for understandable reasons. But you're being honest.
I couldn't do it. No.
How are you surviving down there?
By the skin of my teeth, living with my father. I was living at his wife's girlfriend's house, sleeping on the floor for a few months. I got suicidal, and I drank a couple of bottles of Boone's Farm wine, and I called the cops.
Why?
Because I had a glimmer of hope still. This hope thing is still here somewhere.
Why the cops, though?
Because I didn't know where to turn.
We don't have places to really turn, so
I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know anybody really. So I called the cops and I said, you could pick me up now or pick me up later from killing myself.
Don't say that to cops, Bobby. You didn't get the fucking memo?
So the great thing is that a really cool cop shows up.
Oh, cool.
Who was a born-again Christian. He brought me to South Miami Hospital, gave me his personal phone number, and said, if you need to, call me. He showed me empathy.
Note to all police officers, learn from that police officer, please.
Yeah. Then I got clean again. I went to that a treatment center. It was more for psych because I felt like I was a nut job. And I got clean again. And I was clean for a year and a half. And I was in a relationship, and I got physically abusive. And I decided that, if I'm going to be doing this while I'm clean, I might as well be getting high.
So this is basically, and no one wants to be compared, and I'm not doing, but back and forth.
Yeah.
Until you either die or you give yourself up to something larger. That's it. And a lot of people on that path do die.
Mm-hmm.
If you had died, you don't have a daughter.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm. So I decided to go smoke some crack and drink some booze.
Is that in Miami?
That was in Fort Lauderdale. Okay. I was living in Lauderdale at the time.
What year was this?
96.
Okay.
Then my clean date is September 19th, 1996. September 18th, that was when I had a year and a half, and I decided to go get high. I had a great car. I had a 67 Chevelle, and I was going to sell it to the drug dealer for crack. And while I was talking to him about it in a parking lot, a cop pulls up. And I just broke down and cried. I'm like, you know what? I really didn't want to get high. I just wanted to stop the pain.
Right.
Another cop with empathy shows up.
Wow, you got lucky, bro.
I did, especially from what I did, when I was 15. So I ended up going to a treatment center. There was a halfway house where they took indigent people. I got really involved in 12-step program. I lived down there for 10 years in Fort Lauderdale. I met my now ex-wife down there. She had a job offer in Daytona, so I decided to move with her to Daytona. And then she got a job here in Gainesville, and I moved here to Gainesville with her.
Where or how'd you meet?
12-step rooms.
So she's clean too?
Yeah.
And are you married at the time or together, partners?
We were partners.
Gainesville when?
Say like 17 years ago.
Oh, wow.
We ended up getting married, and I became a dick.
Do you know why?
It was a lot of things. I felt like she didn't hear me.
And at some point you have a kid.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who died that would have had kids. And at some point recently, your wife decides to leave.
We divorced 3 years ago, and we separated 2 years before that.
And is she and your daughter still in Gainesville?
Yes, that's why I'm still here.
Where would you go if you weren't there?
Anywhere. I'm still meeting some good people here that make me want to stay. But the thing that's holding me here, my daughter's nearby, and my mom's going to be coming to Gainesville soon.
You think you're a good dad?
I think I'm a great dad. People tell me I am.
That's cool.
I fall short a lot of times, though,
I mean, sure. How many people know they were talking?
A few people from work. I'm really tight with people at work.
And when was the last time you almost tried to end your life?
Just about when I got separated from my ex is when I started really contemplating getting rid of myself.
Well, how do you feel as we speak now? I mean, in terms of, do you still have these, do you still want to die?
No, not at all.
What changed? That's a big change, dude.
I reached out for help again. I was seeing a psychiatrist because I needed medicine for my ADHD that I was diagnosed with at 40. I also have Tourette syndrome. Yeah, so I was still depressed, and every day I couldn't find joy in anything. I really couldn't.
It's so weird. We're all just chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
And you just hope to get the balance close enough to be okay.
Yeah. So I had gotten in touch with a friend of mine that I had known from New Jersey, and she lives down here in Florida. We had come and seen each other, but we got back in contact on Facebook, which is great for those things, And we called each other once in a while. And I called her one night, just really, really depressed. I just don't want to live this way anymore. I don't have a pot to piss in. I only see my daughter on weekends. I said, I don't want to be a weekend warrior, Dad. I want to be in her life. That's when she told me that I needed to be there for that girl. And that was the little glimmer that I got. My psychiatrist at the time asked me if I wanted to die. I said, yeah, I want to think about it every day. And he's like, well, what's to keep you from doing it? I said, my frontal lobe has been fully developed. Not like when I was 19. I took that quick shot, this spur of the moment, going to kill myself thing. I've thought it through. I want to be there for my daughter. So they told me there's a TMS treatment. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And they said they put magnets on your head and kind of reset your brain. I'll do anything. Just like with alcohol and drugs, I had hit a bottom of my depression. The medicine wasn't working really. I was clean and sober for a lot of years and still suicidal. Something had to give. So when I started the TMS, I had to go every day, 5 days a week for 6 weeks. And they put this big helmet on your head, and it feels like woodpeckers pecking at your head. I had to wear a mouthpiece to stop from biting my tongue.
Really?
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. And this was all outpatient for me. I was actually contemplating ACT treatment because I was desperate. I felt this way, and I didn't want to feel that way anymore. I didn't want to feel suicidal. So I went through this treatment. The fog started to lift after 6 weeks. It just hit one day. I wasn't depressed, and I didn't think about killing myself.
What would you think about instead?
Hanging out with my daughter.
And you get to see her sometimes not on the weekends or only weekends?
I get her every other weekend, and I pick her up from school twice a week.
Hang out a little bit?
Hang out, yeah.
What do you guys do together?
I'm getting out of my own element by trying new things But yeah, we went to Disney in August last year. We had a great time. I take her to things. We went to a fundraiser, walk-a-thon thing, and we got to walk. I take her hiking sometimes. I love the outdoors. I actually enjoy the outdoors nowadays again.
Dating?
I'd like to, but when I was separated for a year, I decided to give myself 1 year before I got involved with anyone. I needed to look at myself. And I found a woman 20 years younger who was great for a couple months, I was 47 and she was 27. I'm like, this is great, but there was nothing really there. It was just superficial, have fun thing. She wasn't superficial. I wasn't ready for anything. After that, I did like, fuck it. If I'll just keep an open mind. If something happens, it'll happen. Cool. I went on a couple of dates here and there, but nothing really clicked. Now I'm like, I don't know if I even want a relationship right now. Life's getting pretty good.
Does your daughter know about your attempt?
She doesn't know about my attempt. Oh, yeah, actually, she does. So I have the tattoo here. I'll show you.
Wow. Bobby's showing me a rather elaborate tattoo. I believe that is Jesus Christ depicted on a cross and some other, right?
Underneath it is a lotus, a purple lotus with a semicolon in the middle.
When did you get that?
Last year.
Daughter asked about it, or you just told her?
She asked me about it. Actually, she told me, she said, I know what that means, but I just want you to know I'm glad it didn't work.
Ooh.
I'm glad you didn't do it.
That must have been a moment.
Yeah. And she knows about my depression.
Did she know that it was before she was born, or more? She thought it maybe was recent?
She doesn't know about my attempt, but she knows that I wanted to. But she knows I've been suicidal.
Wow. Is this the first time you've talked about it this openly in terms of some people will hear this. It's not just in a 12-step group or, it's a little more open, a little more public.
Yeah, well, the way I see it, everyone has a story. I need to tell my story to maybe help someone else with their story. People have shared hope with me. I think that's how this thing works. People helping each other. And no matter what our differences are, anybody can feel, now I'm not going to say anybody, but many people can feel empathy. And when you speak with empathy, people know it.
I think so. Do you ever wish that you had been successful back in 89?
Not now, no, not at all.
But a few years ago, if I asked you that, it might have been a yes?
Yeah.
Do you think you'll make it to 55?
I hope so. I want to. That's the big thing. I want to. I want to be old because I have a daughter. I want to watch her get older, grow up, I want to be there for her. I'm enjoying my time I spend with her. I really enjoy the time we spend together.
That's amazing. You believe in God?
I don't know. I've gotten into like secular Buddhism. That helps me a bit. Yeah, it's funny because like you heard, I had a good experience with the Catholic Church. I can't understand that kind of.
If you'd gotten unlucky and you were in a different church, it might have been a very different thing, right?
Yeah.
There's so many things, it sounds like, that you so easily could be dead.
Absolutely.
So unlikely you're here, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe you see it differently and it's sort of a divine, you're meant to be here. So
I must be here for a reason. I believe that.
Yeah. How many people do you have to talk to about, not necessarily suicide, but difficult things?
By choice lately, about 2. Now, see, when the pandemic hit, my anxiety went through the roof. I became kind of claustrophobic, a hermit. When I wasn't working, I would just lock myself in my apartment, eat, and look for, things online. Like, that's how I found you.
Okay.
But the anxiety hasn't left really. It's still there. So I stopped going to the 12-step meetings and I went to some Zoom meetings, but to me there feels like a disconnect. One of my love languages is physical touch. And I yearn for that. I haven't been getting it. So I kind of stopped doing those things that were keeping me okay.
Is it better now that we're not really in the pandemic anymore?
Yeah.
You're out.
I think it's starting to get better. My anxiety has lifted a little bit. I'm also able to do things socially. But still haven't got to 12-step meetings. My excuse is that I'm old and I'm tired. I work early mornings. And by the time meeting time comes around, I either miss a noon meeting or the meetings are too late. So I go to bed 6:30 at night. I work 5 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Do you think there's a chance that you'll pick up an alcoholic beverage at some point?
There's always a possibility.
Or do heroin.
Or try to kill myself. I don't know. I know right now, I'm still doing things to keep me from doing that stuff. I meditate every single day.
Does that work for you? Helps?
It works a lot. It works really well for me. I'm still able to talk to some people, that are close. But where I'm working, I've been there for 10 years. And I've been working with some of these people for a long, long time. They know me.
You didn't punch your boss in the face, right? There?
No.
I'm just joking. Do you think there's anything you could say to you or somebody like you when you were mid to late teens that would make a difference? Or do you think somebody just has to go through the stuff and hopefully make it through?
I don't think anything anyone told me had made a difference. I still decided to try to take my own life.
I don't just mean that. I mean just alcohol and drugs and violence and all of it. Is there anything I could say to you when you were 16 that would have made a difference?
No, because everything was sent to me. I had to experience it.
Yeah.
And I have no regrets. I don't regret anything that's happened in my life because it made me who I am. And when I think about it, I'm a pretty fucking strong guy.
That's true too.
I've been through so much shit and I got through it. Wow.
And you're going to write that fucking book at some point, maybe.
That'd be nice.
Are there any myths? If you've heard the podcast, I asked this question, right? Like myths around really anything we've talked about.
I don't know.
All right. You don't need to have one.
Yeah.
No myths about tattoos. You got tattoos. Tell me about them, yeah?
When I was younger in recovery, I decided to feel pain. And it got me through. I wasn't a cutter, but when I had real emotional pain, I would go get a tattoo.
Oh, it's something I never thought about. Maybe that's one reason people get tattoos.
Yeah, I got piercings too, and it's cool.
It's cool, yes. No arguments there. It's cool. And we all want to be cool. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah, everybody wants to be cool.
Everybody wants to be cool. I don't really have any other questions other than I just want to thank you for joining me and talking and being so open. And do you ever go to a Florida Gators game?
Oh, yeah. Actually, a few weeks ago, I went to a softball game with my daughter.
So it's 3:00. You'll be in bed within 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
What are you going to do until then?
Shower and do a bunch of laundry.
Fucking exciting shit.
It is. Life stuff.
Life stuff is life stuff. Not every month can be exciting, right? We just have to maintain stuff.
Yeah.
Clean ourselves, do our laundry, buy some food. What else do you want to add, my friend?
I'm glad I got to hear your podcast because it did get me through a lot of shit. Just hearing other people with the same issues that I had or have that have gone through the same thing as me and got through it. That's the big point, is they got through it.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. For sure, man. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. And like you said earlier, you will be offering that to other people as well by being on here and sharing stuff. And there'll be people who hear it and connect with you and your stuff. So story, or you said that's what it's all about. Your words.
It is. I hope maybe one day I can help save someone's life.
I mean, you probably are in some ways, right?
Yeah. I'm saving myself right now by talking about it. And it's not taboo.
And we're not candy coating it.
Right.
Because that's not actually talking about it.
No. Life is fucked sometimes.
Yeah.
Then I got to get through it.
I mean, literally, if you see the process of birth, this shit isn't going to be easy.
Yeah.
It's all there for you. This is not going to be easy. Don't expect it to be.
Yeah. One of the things I really liked about hearing your podcast is that you have a foul fucking mouth.
One of the things that I've decided was I'm going to be myself.
Yeah.
Because it's my podcast and the nature of podcasting, I can do mostly whatever I want.
Right.
There's a lot of people that would approach people who are or have been suicidal with like kid gloves. I'm like, that's bullshit.
Right.
They're grown-ups. They don't need to be kid glove let's just fucking talk. Now, there might be people who never reach out to me who don't like my style, but that's okay. I'm not here to necessarily be all things to all people. So I'm glad that you say that because I do sometimes curse.
Yeah.
I do sometimes joke around, but I don't think I'm doing it at your expense. I've
never felt that at all.
I don't know. Well, good, because I wouldn't want people to think that. I don't really apologize for what I do, and I won't.
Mm-hmm.
All right, brother, enjoy your laundry. It was really good talking to you.
Nice talking to you, too. Thank you.
Take care, Bobby. As always, thanks so much for listening and all of your support. Special thanks to Bobby down in Florida. Thank you, Bobby. If you are a suicide attempt survivor and you'd like to talk, please reach out. hello@suicidenoted.com, on Facebook or Twitter @suicidenoted, and check the show notes for all kinds of other things, including our membership. We would love to have you join. We could use the support. There are some perks. However you're involved, however you participate, thank you very much. And that is all for episode number 161. Stay strong. Do the best you can. I'll talk to you soon.